Welcome to Pop Culture Roulette for all your pop culture needs. We're America's podcast. All right, welcome everybody. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Tim last week. As always, I'm Nicholas. I'm joined by wannabe Nightmare on Elm Street, Justin,
Wow.
and enjoying icy cold beverages, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's just looking stoic over there.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, so last week we did the interview because I was on vacation. So I had the wife and I drove from here to the DC area to see my parents. Then we drove down to Colonial Williamsburg. But the trip really got started on a Thursday, and about halfway between here and Columbus, my car started making just a horrendous noise, like just
Taylor Swift came on the radio.
Oh,
oh no, this was marginally just slightly worse than hearing Taylor Swift. It was making this horrible screeching noise. So as we were going to Columbus, because originally the plan was we were going to drive halfway, stop in Columbus, see the zoo in the morning, and then drive the rest of the way to my parents' house. But as we got there, we were like, nope, tomorrow we're taking the car to the shop because we can't drive the rest of the way. The rear brakes decided to fail. So, why we got trapped in Columbus for the morning. Instead of going to the zoo, we were, stuck in the hotel. So, thank you to the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Columbus, Ohio, Dublin, I think technically, for allowing us to stay an extra hour or two.
Oh, all right.
Past the checkout time and not charging us for it.
Good for them. Heroes of the week right there.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, so gonna give them a little bit of a free plug because they helped us out. They have no idea who they helped out because they were like, you have 30 followers. No, we don't need you. You're no social media influencer.
Oh,
But yeah, so I was like, oh, this is not a good omen for starting the trip. But thankfully, that was pretty much the last bad thing that happened.
That's good. That's good.
We made it to Colonial Williamsburg. Drove, walked around, did a lot of walking. Then I also have a cat that apparently wants to be part of the podcast today.
mine's in a normal spot.
But I mean, I had been to Colonial Williamsburg before. But the best I can figure, it's literally been about 30 years.
Okay.
So none of it looked familiar. None of it. I mean, there was like one building where I'm like, I do remember this, but I remember nothing about it.
All right.
Okay.
I've never been to Old World, Wisconsin. I'm guessing that that's something that you guys went to as youths on field trips.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so Old World, Wisconsin, I'm guessing they have a bunch of people dressed up and like it's kind of like a colonial Renaissance fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Very similar with Colonial Williamsburg, except for it's on a much larger scale. And they managed to have a couple of the buildings that are still standing from the 1700s.
Okay.
Which are impressive. But like they have people who are dressed up in the colonial gear and they're all, they can talk to you about, whatever building they're at specifically. So there was like the governor's palace, and that was kind of fun. And then they have a Capitol building where like Thomas Jefferson and all those guys actually did a lot of the Constitution or Declaration of Independence writing.
That's
Because
awesome.
because Colonial Williamsburg was a massive part of our U.S. history. So and also what I don't remember was that apparently, and the funny part about it is that last podcast on the left just did a series on Blackbeard. Apparently, at one point in history, Blackbeard held the entire town of Williamsburg under siege for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So, like, we did a pirate slash ghost tour that Saturday night, and they talked a lot about like, oh, this prison here is where they actually held some of Blackbeard's men. This is over here where they had, they celebrated his death with doing things to his head and like his, like
Ah,
the ghost tour also had a little bit of misinformation, but whatever. They were trying to sell a story and make it more fun. So
did you call him out on it?
I wanted to, but I kept my mouth shut because I didn't.
Stop the fucking tour.
Pull this bus over.
That was a walk. I did so much walking. Oh man, I don't know what I'm more tired from, the 13, 14 hour drive to there and back, or the sheer amount of walking that we did. But Colonial Williamsburg, I mean, if you're a history nerd or just a nerd in general, you probably have a lot of fun with it. It's not exactly pop culture relevant, but because at least when I'm talking about 80s movies, it's a little more culturally relevant to say the 1780s.
Nice.
But nonetheless, it was a good time.
That's cool.
So
what exactly happens there though? Do they do like they act out scenes?
They did have one, like, I guess if you go to the right parts of the town at the right part of the day, they do have like reenactments. But like, all right, so when they toured you in the governor's palace, they have a guy who's dressed in colonial appropriate garb.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, in this room we did this, and in this room we did that. And then he gave you a little history about the last royal governor of Virginia, because at some point, obviously, all the governors were appointed by the king, and then we were all like, "Fuck that guy, get the hell out of here. We want to run this shit ourselves."
Right.
Yeah.
And he ran out of town under the cover of darkness, literally. Apparently, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, him and his wife and his kids just like packed their shit up and ran out the back door.
Nice. I love it.
It's kind of the kind of stuff that like I'm sure they've either made movies about or miniseries about, but it's like, man, they should make more historical movies about that stuff,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's also probably not as interesting. I don't know how you make a whole 2 hour movie of that, but I don't know. I mean, some of it was fascinating, but I mean, so like in the Capitol building, it's like two buildings with a big, like it's almost like a giant upside down U.
Okay.
So like they bring you in like the courthouse part where like the royal side would sit, and then they take you upstairs and they let you sit in this room, and they're like, so the phrase that we use, in the middle, apparently literally comes from that building, because you had the US, like the people who were voted on by who became US citizens, and then you had the group of people who were appointed by the king or other royals, and they would meet on either side, and then they would come to the middle of the building, and then they would debate everything and then work it out. So they literally were in the middle. And I was like, huh. I mean, I just assumed that phrase was more of a literal, like, oh, we got to meet somewhere in between our 2 points. I didn't realize like there was an actual, like, this is where that phrase actually came from.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
And there were a bunch of phrases like that they were like, "Hey, this is where this came from." I would assume that because that if it wasn't accurate, people would call them out on it.
Right.
That they must be at least enough true that like that's just what people believe. Who knows if it's actually but I don't know. But I mean that kind of stuff is always fascinating. Like where did that phrase come from, or how did we decide to name a lobster instead of a giggly worm? You know.
It's easy to remember.
So then after we did Williamsburg, we drove up to Atlantic City,
Nice.
where we stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Man, they had all sort. They had a like. I was more interested because it was kind of like a mini Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Like as you're walking around the casino, they just have big glass display cases with guitars or outfits of like different bands. So like they had a full outfit for Kiss. Like they had all four of those guys in one.
That's cool.
They had a guitar for the Bare Naked Ladies. They had shoes from Elton John. They had a Frank Sinatra suit. Bruce Springsteen is apparently way tiny. Like they had his shirt and a pair of blue jeans, and I'm looking at it going, I always thought he was just kind of a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Not big like me, but like just kind of taller. But man, his little shirt and jeans, I was like, he's tiny. he's
He's a small fella.
Aw.
he's a
Now-
small fella. Like
I gotta look that up.
I don't know. But yeah, so I mean it was kind of like well Jess was having fun on the slots and doing whatever she wanted to do. I was just walking around going, oh, who's over there? Oh, Rod Stewart, you say? Oh, Steve Aoki. Why would I care about him? And I wanted some of the stuff I wanted to take pictures of, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm allowed to take pictures on the casino floor, and also didn't want to come off as a complete noob. But
Right.
just
This, according to this one website, it says he's 5'8", 170 pounds.
Oh my God.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I always just pictured him as a bigger guy, but yeah, that's kind of small.
That's tinier than I am.
Well, I guess that's why he's a rock and roll star and not an actual working man. Like, yeah, he tries to come off all blue collar, like, yeah, I'm a working man, but no, you're tiny. You don't have calluses on your hand. But we walked around on the boardwalk at Atlantic City. Saw some very eclectic mix of people.
Okay.
I don't know if we were off season. Like, I don't know if it's either Atlantic City is not as well traveled as it used to be, or if we were there off season, because I don't know what the season, like, I don't know like when Atlantic City is busier than not. I mean, they must be pretty busy because they got some massive hotels there. I mean, massive casinos, and they've got a Caesars and a Bally's and a Hard Rock and
Oh wow.
I think a Trump Plaza. They've got a stretch there where it's so that you don't build things like that big or continue to keep them there that big if you're not getting people in. So I don't know. But I mean, just like any boardwalk or somewhat like downtown Lake Geneva, they had a string of stores with all of the cheesy knockoff shirts.
Oh yeah. Were there performers on the boardwalk?
A couple, not as many, and that's what led me to believe that it's off season, because I really figured there would be more of that kind of stuff. Like I saw one guy in costume, because I was thinking, because I know Vegas has guys in costume and I know Times Square has guys in costume, where like if you want to take a picture with Batman, you got to give him $1 or $5 or
Oh yeah.
There was one guy wearing a Batman-esque costume, but he was not trying to take pictures with anybody, and he was actively avoiding people. So
Perfect.
I think he might have been one of these people who dresses up like a superhero to go on patrol because he doesn't think the cops are doing their job.
Oh, okay. All right.
That yeah, because it wasn't like a straight Batman costume. I mean, it was definitely more homemade. Uh, but yeah, it was. I mean, there was a very eclectic group of people on the boardwalk. There were, I mean, Jess and I were just wearing t-shirts and jeans, t-shirts and shorts. There were some people who were dressed in like three-piece suits and full dresses, and there were people who were very clearly homeless.
Nice. All right.
We did see they had so you got the boardwalk, and then you've got like some ramps to get over a little berm to get down to the ocean because Atlantic City is right there on the ocean.
Okay.
And there was a couple of spaces where you could walk down, and I don't know what they do there, but they like it was just this random space in between the boardwalk and this little hill and then the ocean. And I definitely saw a guy walk down into the little space and
Okay.
start taking a piss. Just right there, like didn't even try to hide it.
Nice.
Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. At some point when I was driving back from New Jersey, which we'll get to New Jersey in a second, I did pull over at what I thought was an oasis, and it wasn't there, so I just pissed on a fence. But
It's yours now. You marked it.
yeah,
That's your fence.
so there's a fence in Illinois that's mine. No, nobody can have it. But yeah, so I mean that was fun. We went to a casino that was set up more like Dave and Buster's.
Sweet.
So I had more fun there than the other one, but still, I mean, it. I put $20 down on the Angels. Thought they were going to win. Then they lost in extra innings. So it was like
Bummer.
It was the next night that they ended or the night after where they finally ended their 14-game losing streak. But I was hoping that maybe me putting money down on them would actually end it. But no, they took
Nah.
my money.
They did you dirty like that?
Yeah, they did. And then I drove up to New Jersey, where this is the part of the trip that I think you guys are interested in.
Absolutely. I'm on the edge of my seat for this part.
Oh well, on the way to New Jersey, we did figure out that Philly was like kind of on the way. So we
Okay.
drove up, saw the Rocky statue.
Oh, I saw that picture. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we walked over and saw the steps that people were, Rocky runs up and he puts his hands up. I guess the statue used to be at the top of the steps, but I don't know if too many idiots were running up the steps or what was that. So they moved it down to the bottom and over to the side just to, but I took a picture, I know Justin, you watched Always Sunny. Jeremy, I can't remember. Do you?
Oh yeah.
You know the beginning where they're just driving through Philly?
Mhm.
And one of the big things at the end is like this like statue and fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right next to the Rocky statue.
That's
So
cool.
I saw that and I was like, I know what that is. So I took a picture of that.
Nice.
But yeah, so then we drove to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. Of course, none of the Jay and Silent Bob Secret Stash staff was there. Not at least the ones that I know of. I don't know any of them personally.
Right.
But I was hoping that Mike would be there. Or, it was Wednesday, so I was pretty sure Sunday Jeff would be there.
Right.
I mean, it was just he had the front of the store was set up like kind of as a museum for props.
Okay.
So they had like the Tusk walrus creature. They had some of the comics. They had a little Bratzi
Oh,
from Yoga
sweet.
Hosers. They had the Poop Demon from Dogma.
Nice.
Nice.
Then when you walk in, it's pretty much just a comic book store.
Interesting.
And then they had like the Buddy Christ, and then they had the giant pop vinyl, the pop figs of Jay and Silent Bob in the back that you could take a picture with.
Okay.
Then they had like a little room over to the side full of like some of the more expensive memorabilia or action figure stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was expecting more, but and it was clear that they had. I don't know. I think there's another room that they just have closed that they must use for like recording or other various stuff.
Hmm.
But I'm glad I went when I did, because like the next day or the day after I was looking, and apparently they had decided they were closing the store on Friday because they were having some big signing on Saturday.
Oh,
And I'm like, man, I'm glad that I didn't, like, because I didn't even bother to check. Like, I didn't think, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I checked to make sure that they were open on Wednesdays,
yeah.
but I didn't bother to check to see if they would be open that Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
And thankfully they were. And then there's a store right next to it, and I know it must have been the guy who owns it must have opened it because Jay and Silent Bob is there. He calls it Pop Freaks, and pretty much all that's in the store is Pop Figs. So pretty much like the store that's open in McWanago that I haven't had a chance to go to yet.
Cool.
So yeah, bought a couple things there. I did buy a signed Movies.
Nice.
So I have the Movies mascot signed by Kevin Smith.
Sweet.
So
Was there like a lot of merch in there to buy? Like from
there were a lot of shirts.
Okay.
Either from the movies or from like, they had a lot of shirts. He had a lot of signed books or magazines. There was a fair amount of merch, but there was also a fair amount of just comic books. Like it would have been like if Neptune was run by Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Just with a big Buddy Christ statue and a lot of Kevin Smith centered memorabilia.
Sure.
And I'm sure that they get a lot of traffic of just people coming to see them and just buying that kind of stuff. I'm sure that, because people still buy comic books, I'm sure they have a fair amount of clientele who come in once or twice a week just to get their list. I bet you they still have the pull list in the box and under the counter or behind the counter that, for their regulars for the pull,
Mhm.
like I used to have when I went to Neptune once a week. I'd walk in. I didn't have to go look at the shelf. Craig would just hand in my stack.
Right. Right.
You
Get your fix right away.
yeah. And then I would go pick up some other stuff that I didn't necessarily put on the list or, add or subtract, so I'm sure they do a fair amount of that business.
Sure.
But then I went to the store that I know, Jeremy, you care about way more than Justin does,
Yes, I'm really interested to hear about this one.
as you are actively wearing a TESD hat.
That's right.
So it's about 20 minutes away.
Okay.
Google Maps got, I tweeted at Gidim and he sent me the address. So I punched it into Google Maps and we drove the 20 something. It's in this random weird strip mall. It's because like they talked about being upstairs. So like I've listened to TSD enough to know. I'm not Patreon like you are, so I don't hear all that stuff. I only have the free episodes. But I knew where they were in Airport Plaza, so I knew I was in the right place because there was a KFC. And there was the sign that said Airport Plaza. I was like, okay, I know I'm in the right place. But they talked about being upstairs. There's nothing obvious about upstairs. Like, I kind of expected it to be more of like a traditional mall.
Okay.
But this is a straight up strip mall. This is a bunch of storefronts.
Okay.
So I find a part of the mall that looks like it has a door and it has a sign that says something about things upstairs, but it doesn't have anything about TESD Town. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go up there.
Okay.
And see, so I go up there and I look around and there's nothing. So I'm like, okay. So I go back and I get in the car and I'm driving around and then I finally there's a big section of random signs and the signs can't be more than 5 by 5. I mean, they're small. Um, or 3 by 5. Well, they're bigger than 3 by 5, but they're and then I see the TSD logo. I was like, okay, now I just need to find the door that goes upstairs. Oh, there it is. So I get upstairs, and then there's just like this maze of labyrinth of like office space, apartment type things. I find the yarn barn that he was talking about. I
Oh,
was like,
nice.
okay. And then I hear it. Like it was like a siren call. I hear the laugh.
Oh my God.
I heard the Walt laugh.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, okay, I just have to follow that. And so I turn around a corner and I see an open door. And this is where I first make a fool of myself.
Okay.
He has one of those little baby gates set up to keep Cooper and Socks in, his dogs. And rather than be smart and try to just move the gate, I try to step over. Now I know from personal experience of having the exact same gate in my house to keep my dogs in the room. I can't do that. That's not something I'm physically capable of doing. So I immediately kick his gate over. I'm like, awesome.
Good start. Good start.
Good start. Good
Yeah.
start. There was 3 groups of people in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I expected to be walking into like nothing, like just the 2 of them.
Yeah.
But there was 3 groups of 2 people and then myself. So one group was like finishing up. They were checking out, and so they left pretty soon after we got there. Maybe, and then there was another group. All right, and then there was 2 more groups. One guy kept wanting to talk to Walt about some art thing,
Okay.
and then did you get a deck? Or
No.
okay,
I
so
did
that must be the next tier up then.
I think it's probably like the 60s. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess for one of the Patreon gifts, they gave out a skate deck. It didn't have any of the gear on it. So like if you wanted to use it, you had to get your own wheels and all that, all the terminology for skate stuff that I don't know. But so he brought it in and had Walt like draw a picture on it and like sign it.
Okay.
And then they wanted to take pictures. And so like there was 2 of them, and like they were gonna be like one was taking a picture, and then the other one would go over, and I was like, why don't I just take the picture so like you can both be in the picture?
Yeah.
And then that guy was like, well, since you're here by yourself, do you just want me to take the picture for you? I'm like, yes, I didn't have to try to figure this out.
Okay, I'll
Perfect.
take your picture and then you take mine.
And so, I mean, I told Walt, like, hey man, I've been listening literally since before day one. Like, I was a fan of this show when it was just guest stars on Smodcast.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm not Patreon, but a good friend of mine is, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, and he was like, it doesn't matter that you're not Patreon. We're just, we're glad you. And I was like, so I bought a 4-color demon shirt.
Nice. That's
Uh,
cool. Cool.
I saw the Prussian kissing skull.
Nice.
And I saw they have a new thing, Crumpy.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's from the holiday special.
Yeah. It's weird. It's creepy as fuck.
Cool.
So they have this mummy in a very weird position. It's this tiny, tiny, like, it's not infant because it's clearly not a child. I don't know what he said it was, supposedly a fossilized or a mummied Santa elf.
Yeah.
And they called it Crumpy. And it's in a giant, like a 50-gallon fish tank, 100-gallon fish tank. It's this,
You bought it at the night fair.
yeah, yeah. So I took a couple. They have the poker table, the original poker table hanging
That-
on the wall.
Awesome.
So
That's
I
so
took a
cool.
picture of that. They let you go into the room where they do the recording. So like I saw the chairs with the monograms on it.
Cool. I'm
I
so
wanted-
jealous.
I wanted. There's so many things I wanted to tell him about. Because I said something about you being on Patreon or doing the Patreon. Because I said, oh, the guy one of the guys I do my podcast with, and I wanted to tell them more about that, but like, I froze. I made not. I didn't make a fool of myself,
Hmm.
but like I didn't say 70% of what I wanted to say. Part of it was because I was also convinced that they probably just didn't want to hear it. But I wanted to be like one of my two dogs is named Quinn because of this podcast. The wife might believe it's because of Impractical Jokers, but it's because of this podcast. Oh, they did ask me. They did say something. I was like, oh, they said, "Oh, where's your wife?" Still, because I said something about having been in Atlantic City, and they're like, "Oh, did you just drive up from Atlantic City and like left her down there?" I was like, "Oh, no, she's in the car." Oh, she didn't want to come in here and watch me nerd out. They're like, I get it.
It's funny.
But Walt Walt's actually a little bigger or slash taller than I expected him to be. Get him is exactly how I mean, if you listen to Tell Him Steve Dave
Hmm.
and you've seen a picture of Get Him online, it tracks. Like, and he is exactly that person in person. Like
Really?
it's I mean it's awesome. I mean, and I told him, like, I was like, listen, man, I know Reddit hates you, but I have been a fan of you since pretty much the beginning. Like, I enjoy whenever you're on the podcast. And instead of just going, oh, thanks, man, he got kind of silent and weird. But I think, because that's who he is. Like, I don't think he handles that as well. It wasn't until after I walked out that I was like, I wanted to buy a headshot because I know he had the headshots from the Comic-Con they just went to. But yeah, so I was definitely thinking I want to come back with Jeremy and Justin because one, I want to go on a road trip with you guys because I saw something on the way home that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
In Indiana. It's only about 3.5 hours. So we could do it in a day, or we could make a weekend of it. There is a superhero hall of fame. I don't remember exactly where in Indiana, but I remember Jess had the phone out and I was like, how long does it say before we get home? And she goes, oh, 3.5 hours. The three of us could easily do that in a day. Leave early Saturday morning, get down there, see it, and then get back Saturday night. Or I'm sure we could stay at a Motel 6.
I'd be open to that.
Yeah.
What is all inside of this Hall of Fame?
She looked it up. She said it was the mix. Well, Justin, are you pulling it up now?
I can.
Okay. It doesn't really matter what's in it. I just figured it would be a fun road trip. And it's big enough that they have a sign on the side of the road. Those signs when you're driving on the freeway, it tells you like what restaurant or what hotel or gas station, or like it says attractions. It's on the attractions list, so it's big enough. It's big enough that
it earned its own slot.
It earned its own slot. I don't know how much you have to pay for that, but
I mean, the website says Marvel or DC. We've got you covered.
Oh, booyah.
It doesn't really show a lot on the website.
I mean, it could be a complete waste of, I would say it's not going to be a complete waste of a day because the three of us will have a lot of fun doing it. But I figured,
I'm up for this, but we have to record some of it and turn it into like content.
Absolutely. I figured that was the other thing. I mean, and I know that getting through Chicago will be difficult.
Oh fuck yeah, yeah.
I will drive that part of it.
All right, all right.
Once we're out of Chicago, if we want to switch driving, because after Chicago, it's pretty much just straight turnpike driving, or Indiana highway driving, which is way different than Milwaukee or Chicago driving.
It's it's 3 hours, 20 minutes away if you do highways with tolls. If you do all back roads, it's 5 hours and 12 minutes.
So we'll
if,
just
you,
pay.
if you just avoid tolls, it's 5 hours and 11 minutes.
Okay, I'll pay the $20 in tolls.
I'm down for the 5-hour one. I know gas is a little pricey right now, but there could be a lot of cool scenery.
Yeah, it's 5 hours and 12 minutes if you avoid highways. With highways, it's 3 hours and 20.
All right, we'll do the 3-hour one.
I will just drive it. We can talk about which car we take later, but I'll pay the damn tolls and drive. I mean, if we want to stay overnight, I'm sure there's got to be although I will tell you, we stopped at and I probably shouldn't name this one because most of the hotels we stayed at were really nice. The Hard Rock Hotel Casino one, that one was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
that room was just phenomenal. I think I sent you guys a picture from what should have been the balcony, but they bolted that door so you can't go out there. Because I guess being 10 floors up, they're like, you're gonna throw something off of it,
Or yourself.
or yourself. So you could only just get some pictures from the door. But I mean, that room was spectacular. But we
Nice.
stopped at a place that I mean, do I want to give bad press to somebody? Should I say the name or should I?
Yeah, go scorched earth on these
Okay.
clusters.
Yeah, why not?
It was a little hotel called the Quality Inn. I know there's a chain of them. It was somewhere towards the end of Pennsylvania, and it was just like we had just driven as far as we possibly could, and we just didn't want to drive anymore. And it was on exit 62. I remember that much. And it was the Quality Inn, and it was anything but quality. It was. I mean, it got the job done. I mean, we got in and we went to sleep, but the hallway reeked of cigarette smoke.
Ugh.
I mean, I get it wasn't dirty. I mean, it wasn't like the room was just trash, but like the room kind of smelled a little bit like cigarette smoke. I mean, it said it was a non-smoking room, but like the hallway was just reeked. We were like, just want to get a snack or something, and I went to the vending machine, and of course, it was out of order.
Mm.
And so we got up in the morning and just took off. I think we just like, not gonna try to figure anything out. Like, let's just get going. Because at that point we were also just tired. Like,
Mhm.
we just wanted to be home.
Yeah.
If we had gone straight from TESD town to my house, Google Maps said it was like a 13 and a half hour drive. But Jess wanted to see the Statue of Liberty and the New York City skyline, so we beelined up and went to something called Liberty Park and saw that stuff, and then we drove from there. So it took a little bit longer to get home. Plus, there's so much of this country that's under construction right now.
That's a pain. That's
It's,
a pain.
there were a couple spots where we came to almost, if not a complete stop, because so I don't know, because neither of you like driving on the freeway. I don't know how much you've ever experienced this, but so it was later at night. They had closed one of the lanes because they were doing construction. And when you get to that point, it tells you like 1 mile away, half a mile away, a quarter of a mile, like left lane closed or right lane closed.
Mhm.
and there's always that one jerk who tries to zoom past everybody to get a little further.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, apparently at that time of night, the truck drivers were like, "Fuck that noise," so they started driving in the middle.
Huh.
So like I had two trucks in front of me that were driving in the middle, and then I looked behind me, and then there were two truckers that were working together, and they were just like one was in the left, one was in the right, and they just were matching each other. So I knew they were doing it intentionally just to keep anybody who was trying to pass them from passing them,
Nice. That's awesome.
because they were just like, enough of this. Like, it's taken long enough to get through this area. We're wait your damn turn.
Right.
Fall in line.
Yeah.
Everybody else saw the sign. You know?
Yeah. For real. Hate people like that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but I saw that superhero museum, and I'm like, well, that's a Media Pod Smash Pop Culture Roulette field trip right there.
Yeah, it's Hall of Heroes Superhero Museum in Elkhart, Indiana.
Yeah, Elkhart, that's what it was. I figured the three of us, and if Tony wanted to join, we could do four of us. I don't know if Tony would be into something like that, but
There's another driver right there.
yeah, there we go.
Perfect. The more the merrier.
So that was my week.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
What did you guys do this week?
Well, me and Jeremy hung out
We did. Yeah.
on Sunday last week because we
We
weren't
had a
recording.
boys' night.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you were away. We were just playing some online games,
oh, there you go.
eating pizza.
Eating pizza, getting frustrated with a game that shouldn't be that hard.
What game were you playing?
We're playing Super Bunnymen.
Super Bunny Man.
Yeah.
What is this game?
It's like you're two dudes in buddy suits. And it's like a platforming game, and you're trying to do like work together cooperatively to like get across the map. And you can
And-
like,
And all
Right.
you can do is hop and grab.
yeah.
And there's a carrot.
Okay.
So it tends to lead to like a lot of like really stupidly hilarious moments and situations just because of the way that you grab onto each other and like die in it. So yeah.
So there's a lot of yelling and some,
Cry laughing and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
a lot of controllers being thrown at the table, and
Yeah.
Jer-
yeah. Every
Jer-
once in a while.
Yeah, Jeremy controlled himself pretty good.
I maintained a pretty good control. I went to the Haunters convention yesterday.
the Hunters Convention.
The Haunters convention.
Oh, Haunters. Okay.
yeah.
I
yeah.
was gonna be really confused there for a second.
Hunters.
Hunters. Whoa, wait a minute. What? Haunters.
Haunters.
That makes more sense. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was really cool, actually. So it was at the Rosemont, same place that they had the anime convention,
Okay.
and it was basically a lot of people in the industry. Like you can buy props, and there's like a lot of networking opportunities with industry professionals, and they've got like insurance companies there that have booths and stuff set up. It's kind of weird. It's very much like a trade show and less of like a convention with like cosplayers, but there is some of that. But it was cool. It was fun to walk around in.
Get a chance to promote any of your stuff, or
Nah, just took it all in. I just kind of walked around and looked at stuff. I don't know. There was it was very overstimulating.
I wonder how much a booth at something like that would cost to promote the 30 for 30 or 31 for 31 that 30 for 30. That's ESPN. We didn't rip them off.
Not at all.
We are not associated with that at all.
The 31 for 31,
Oh yeah, right. Oh, that'd be cool. I should look into that.
I mean, it's probably. I did look into how much it would cost to buy some promotional stickers.
Okay.
I found one website that was selling like you could do your own logo for like 2x2 or 3x3 stickers, and I think it was like a roll of 100 or 150 for like $90, which seemed reasonable. But that's neither here nor there. Did you did you get a chance to like meet any of the people who do like abandoned or any of the ones in this area or
uh, I didn't really see any of the people that were like do it like in charge of the haunts themselves because it was a lot of people just selling shit that I saw.
oh
But
Oh,
they
he went to the insurers one instead.
yeah, I did. No, it was definitely like a lot of merchandise. Like there was a section for like some of the actual haunted houses around the area, but people were kind of off mingling around the convention, so
oh
they
so
didn't
it's
really
kind of
talk to.
like hey the hot thing for the haunted house this year is going to be this jump scare and
Well, I mean, it was just like it's a huge vendor hall, mostly, but it's hard to explain. I don't know because there's also different um like speakers too that go on throughout the day in like different conference areas too. But like it's a whole weekend long event.
huh.
But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. It was fun to just walk around and see the props mostly. That's what I like. It got me in the mood for making the production now.
Did you get any were you inspired?
I was.
So you saw some things that you're like this is what I'm doing in my yard this year.
Actually was like some really cool shit. Actually, you could buy they had like booths set up with like motors that you could buy and like do it yourself type like items that you could buy like individually. And they had like really detailed stuff too. I don't know. I'll have to show you some of the video that I shot. I took some footage. I'll make an episode about it soon too.
All
Did
right.
did you spend more money than you should have on something that you shouldn't have
I
purchased?
re- I wanted to really badly. Like at every booth, there was an opportunity for that, but I didn't let it happen.
You didn't get peer pressured into buying anything?
No, no.
Buy this Dracula, we'll throw in this Frankenstein. All right, let's see. So that we can do not just rather than since we did call this a pop culture roulette episode, not media pod smash. Um, did you guys see that they announced the Thunderbolts movie?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing from that reaction, you don't even know what the Thunderbolts is. In Marvel and DC, they are constantly stealing from each other. I
Okay.
don't know which one of them stole the idea first. DC got to it in the movie before Marvel did, but in the DC world they call it the Suicide Squad. In the Marvel world they call it Thunderbolts, where basically they've gathered up all the villains they have in prison and they're like, "This is how we're going to reform you," and they put them on a team. So basically, from what it sounds like, and obviously they haven't really set the roster yet, but any of the low level villains that haven't died in a movie recently will potentially be up for being in this movie. Um, in the comics, for a long time, Luke Cage was like kind of the guy in charge of it. I know that I think they're called the Thunderbolts because Thunderbolt Ross ran it, or like he was the inspiration behind it, which could mean a Red Hulk is coming.
Ooh.
Although William Hurt passing away means that they're going to have to recast that character. Plus, if they were going to do the Red Hulk, I can't imagine Thunderbolt or William Hurt was going to be doing that anyway because he's kind of a little older. So they might have to young that character up a little bit, but or it could be a way to get Luke Cage into the main into the movies out of the Netflix. Obviously with Hawkeye, they already have established that the Netflix series happened because Kingpin was in Hawkeye as Kingpin, so Vincent D'Onofrio. So that kind of was like, hey, all of that
spoilers.
from a year. Well, I guess not quite a year ago, 6 months ago.
Justin didn't watch that one yet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Listen, I gave you 6 months. Actually, over 6 months.
Plus, I always say on here, I don't care about spoilers. I know what I got myself into.
That's true.
But when they brought him into the Hawkeye series, that was basically them saying, yeah, the Netflix stuff is part of this canon. Like, well, and then Charlie Cox was in the Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
as Daredevil. Well, I mean, as Matt Murdock, but we all know who he really is.
Right.
A really good lawyer.
So all of, and then because the Daredevil series happened with the Defenders, so Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and all that stuff happened. Like that's all now. I mean, not that it wasn't legitimate before, but that was Kevin Feige going, all that stuff still happened. So it's still in play. So maybe that's how they do it. Maybe that's how Mike Coulter gets brought in as Luke Cage, and they're like, this is the guy in charge of the Thunderbolt program.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, do we want to talk about a crazy story?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Since we're pretty much just doing an episode of Media Pod Smash anyway, did you hear?
We're doing a Nicholas's vacation recap episode.
I didn't really have a chance to do a lot of research this week. I mean, I guess I probably could have done some over the last day or two, but I was trying to recoup. That was a lot. We packed a lot of stuff into a week. Anyway, so there was a woman who sued Geico and won $5.2 million. Does anybody want to take a guess as to what happened to her that she was able to win money from an insurance company?
I actually remember hearing something about this, but I can't remember. I don't know.
All right. Justin, you want to throw out a guess?
I don't know. They used her image without her consent.
No, much dumber. She got an STD from her partner in his car.
All right.
Somehow
It's
that's
the
Geico.
insurance. It's the insurance company's fault.
Somehow that's the insurance company's fault.
That's crazy.
Right. I know that for a long time, people have used the whole spilling hot coffee on yourself at McDonald's and winning a lot of money as like the example for dumb lawsuits. And having read more about that one, knowing that like basically it was like literally boiling water that got spilled on her. Like that lawsuit makes a little more sense.
Mm-hmm.
This one, she was having sex. She wasn't like, the guy wasn't using the car to like rape her or do something incorrectly. Like this was voluntary, consensual sex.
Uh-huh.
She got an STD from it. And somehow Geico has to pay her $5.2 million.
And sued his insurance company.
I don't know what kind of coverage you're supposed to have to keep that from happening.
It's called a condom.
Well, there's that, but I don't remember that. Like when I sat down with my insurance agent, I don't remember him ever having that conversation. All right, well, I'm just saying. We've got the comprehensive, the liability, Do you want the STD coverage? I'm like,
They're gonna have to now. There's gonna be a whole new part of the process.
So if you have Geico as an insurer and your rates just went up, well, this is why. Because our court systems are stupid.
That's a lot of money. That's how do they figure it's worth 5 million?
I don't know how they figured that out. I don't even know how they figured out that it was Geico's fault. Like, I mean,
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
Unless the lizard was involved somehow.
I'm all for
There-
taking down big corporations, but this is crazy.
right? There's one guy who's responsible for it, and he's not the one paying $5.2 million.
Right.
Yeah.
He's probably a deadbeat.
And well, I mean, I guess if he
In all
knew he had
likelihood.
yeah, well, in all likelihood, I guess if he knew he had an STD,
Uh-huh.
then that would I think that would make you like criminally liable. Like, shouldn't you go to jail for like assault or
Oh yeah.
battery or
Yeah.
something?
Definitely. Definitely.
But I mean, if you didn't know, then I guess that's one thing. But
How would you prove that you didn't know? Take a lie detector test?
well, I guess they would subpoena your medical records at that point.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Like,
That makes a lot
were-
more sense.
But
you
right to
were
the lie detector test.
you were on I believe Valtrex is one of them. I see the commercials for. You were on this disease. You were on this drug for a year before, so you clearly knew you had something, and you didn't tell her. Yeah, you're going to jail.
Right. Right.
Again, I don't see. So, like, if that had happened at like Holiday Inn, would it have been Holiday Inn's fault?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like that's crazy. I don't know
That's
how this
so I don't understand how, because it was in the back of a Ford Fiesta or whatever. I don't know. Car was
So it's Ford's fault too.
yeah, so
Like-
there's so many more people she can go after in
Yeah.
this.
No, I don't know. I saw that story and I went, that is some bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody watch anything this week?
Hmm. I watched the new Norm Macdonald special. Did I already say that? I feel like I said
No.
okay.
I think we talked about it coming out, but I don't think it had come out last time we.
Okay. So yeah, I watched it. It was very interesting. I mean, it was all one take at his house and very funny. He lightly touched on some very serious things, but still the routine was really, really funny. And then at the end they did like the whole like 30-minute chat with like really close friends of his that are like comedians.
When he recorded it, he knew, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, because didn't he record it kind of in secret as like if I don't make it, this is what I want to be going out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think he was actually he recorded it the night before he was about to go in for a surgery, and it was like in case he doesn't even make it back from that surgery, he was worried about. But then he stashed it away because COVID happened and he didn't get to any venues, and so yeah.
Yeah, I want to watch it, but I mean, at the same time, it's kind of like that Chris Farley documentary that came out a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to watch it. I've heard it's really good, but like, it just, I don't know. Maybe that'll be what breaks the streak. I watched that new Adam Sandler movie this afternoon, Hustle,
Oh nice.
on Netflix.
How's that?
It's pretty good. I mean, like it's I think it's one that probably could have done well in the theaters. Like, it wasn't like a lot of his other straight Netflix movies where it was like, yep, no, I get it. It wasn't Ridiculous 6.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would say this is more like a not as serious as Rain Over Me, but it's definitely more in the Reign Over Me category of Adam Sandler movies.
So he's trying.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
like he's not. It's not. I mean, there's definitely funny moments, but it's not like it's not a Hubie Halloween.
Okay.
You know. You know. But it's worth a watch. It's fun. It's a good movie.
All right. Nice. Hmm.
Justin,
Not really. We watched, when I was at Jeremy's, we watched the new South Park special.
Oh yeah. That was
Nice.
good.
It's about too many streaming services.
okay, so South Park is a listener of our stuff, so they know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As they do stuff for HBO Max exclusive and all Paramount Plus exclusives.
Right.
Yeah.
Did either of you watch the Obi-Wan series?
First episode is as far as I got.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
okay. Miss Marvel,
Didn't know that came out yet.
I think it was Wednesday. You see, your cat knows all about it.
Yeah. She wants to
Um,
contribute. It's her turn to contribute.
Miss Marvel is probably one of the most kid-friendly things that the MCU has done, but I still thought it was really good.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the series and what they're going to do with that character. It has some real potential.
All right. Sweet.
We'll have to talk about Obi-Wan at some point when you guys are caught up with. Well, I think I'm an episode or two behind on that too, because I think 1 or 2 episodes came out while I was on vacation. So
Yeah.
I did use some of my streaming. The hotel at the Hard Rock had had an app on their TV where you would just punch in a number on your computer and it would just send whatever you're watching on your computer. Like it would I think it was like Google Cast or Chromecast and so like so I turned on Hulu and then a little button popped up on Hulu and I hit it and I was able to send what we were watching on Hulu to the screen on the TV, which was kind of cool. All right then.
Yeah. So we all got nothing.
We got nothing. All right. So
I'm dead.
apparently,
It's been a long fucking week, man.
apparently you guys have had as long a week as I have had.
Yeah.
All right. Well then, I guess let's wrap this shit up. So if you have decided to do a lot of road construction on the turnpike between here and New Jersey.
Everywhere. We're kidding.
Yeah. Or you've gone to see your favorite podcast and you completely lock up and don't say half of what it is you wanted to say. Just remember, stupid never walks alone.